The beauty of God's creation. It inspires us. It calls us. It reminds us of God's special love for mankind. All of the Philippines is built on this beauty. Luscious green forests, fertile soils, and emerald waters. There is no place on earth quite like it. Each island, each mountain, every valley, every living thing here speaks of God's loving attention to His creation. How much more are we valued to God than this beautiful earth? Jesus did not die for a planet. He died for His most precious treasure, the human race. If you would have told me 2 years ago that I would be here to see this beauty and be reminded day by day of God's love for me, I would have thought it impossible. Yet God has a way of making the impossible possible, to turn dreams into reality, and to change people. That is, of course, the most valuable gift He gives us. Change. The ability to be saved when we are lost, to be transformed by His grace, to learn to forgive, to share joy, and to love. But not all is lovely here. There is heartache, pain, and oppression all around us in this beautiful country. This is what troubles me. I can never unsee the faces of the children living on the streets. I'll never forget the words spoken of a child asking me to be their father. I can never unsee or forget their losses. I will always hear the weeping voice of the mother who lost her child, and I will never forget the call of the families to please come back and help. The burden rests on me, and I must help them. We must help them.
My first time in the Philippines was really difficult. It was a severe culture shock for me. I experienced hardship sleeping on a floor of a grass shack, living with a family for days. But the more I struggled with them, the more I identified with them, the more I wanted to be there with them. And I looked around and realized that if I was here, I could improve this family's situation. But the number one struggle that they're facing is the inability to make progress because they're constantly just trying to survive. And it was really an eye-opening situation for me. I was exposed to things that most people will never see or understand. So coming back to the United States was really where the big culture shock hit me. People were very indifferent, and it's not to pick on them. They just don't understand. They don't know what it's like to be there in a third world country where people are sleeping on the street with children, or there's packs of children running around without parents, orphans, no government assistance, no feeding programs, no mandatory school. I came back home to a very organized and rich land, and I'm thankful for it. But it was really hard to relate to the people here. They'd complain about their cell phone coverage, or they'd complain about the cost of their $30 meal. I had a very hard time adjusting to that, knowing that back home $30 could feed 100 children. One of the biggest culture shocks I had in the Philippines was seeing the amount of human suffering and people just walking by indifferently. Seeing children on the street, dirty, no shoes, no mother or father, begging so that they can get enough money to eat that day. Seeing the raw sewage run down the street next to children playing. It really broke my heart. And I knew I had to go back, and I knew I had to do something about it. After spending a year as an ambassador for another NGO, I realized that there's so much more that I wanted to do, to be hands-on. I wanted to cut out the middleman and start doing exactly what I believed the Lord was calling me to do. I wanted to reach people for Jesus Christ. Our thought at Only Seven Ministries is sharing the gospel of Christ through meeting their needs. There's a saying, you can give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or you can teach him to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. Well, I've taken that to the next level. My thought is, give him a fish while you're teaching him to fish. That way he can be taken care of now as he learns to take care of himself. Our attitude is take care of the people as much as possible while we're training them to take care of themselves. Only Seven Ministries was born out of a desire to do everything we could to impact as many lives as possible in the most poor and difficult environments that we could find. After much contemplation and prayer, I chose the garbage dump. I thought to myself, what worse conditions could there be in all of the Philippines? I've been to the inner city slums. I've been to the rich neighborhoods where there's people living in back alleys that have nothing but cardboard to sleep on. I've seen everything that you can imagine from the north to the south in the Philippines. And there's nothing that compares to living in a garbage dump. I saw children with their families living among it. They'll dig through every day and they'll pick out certain items that they need to recycle so they can make enough money to support themselves. Now ask yourself, is there anywhere in the United States where people are living in a garbage dump with their children? If the authorities found out about that, those kids would be put into a proper home. And everywhere in the US, they have mandatory school feeding programs. This is not so in the Philippines. So, with all of this knowledge and a desire to help and the ability to help, how could I not? I had to connect these people with Christ the best way I knew how. How did Jesus do it? Jesus did it by meeting their needs. He fed them, he healed them, and he taught them. And that's exactly what we aim to do. We've been working with them now for over 2 years, and it's been the greatest blessing to us. But they also tell us it's been a great blessing to them. Out of the 300 people in the 2 villages that we service, we have dozens of women coming for weekly Bible studies, and we have dozens of children coming for vacation Bible school and youth Bible studies.
As we just finished up the major part of our vacation Bible school. Vacation Bible school is really a critical part of our ministry. The children that are enrolled in Only Seven Ministries programs are signed up to be a part of our Vacation Bible School program. And we use our volunteers in the village here, which are a team of teenage girls, to assist us in the teaching and the discipline of the children. What we're doing here is teaching the children about Jesus Christ in a way that's practical to them. We share with them Bible stories. We share with them practical ways that they can ask Jesus for help right now today. But most importantly, we tell them what Jesus did for them so that they can go to heaven. What he wants to do for them right now today. We explain to them the simple message of the gospel. That God is perfect, God is love, the enemy screwed everything up, and our only way into heaven is through Jesus Christ.
One of the most exciting things about doing work in the garbage dump are the teenage girls that have volunteered to help us. We dub them the ministry helpers, and they are a very tight-knit group of about 12 to 15 girls, give or take any certain day, that help us with all of our ministry needs, from dispersing medication or to explaining things in Tagalog, the native language. These girls have never failed us. They're there every time we need them. Now, it should be said that these girls aren't just helping us, they're also helping themselves. It's our greatest joy to do Bible studies with them and teach them and train them up. We always tell these girls that we consider our girls, we tell them that we want you to go places in life. We want you to move out of the dump. And they always say, we'd love to do that. Now, we've had them teach our Sabbath schools with the little children during Vacation Bible School. We've had them assist us with leading out in song and disciplining the children and keeping things organized. It's wonderful to see what they've helped us do. But I would really like you to hear from them what they feel they've been blessed with through Only Seven Ministries.
14 po.
I clean and study. I help in doing the household chores. We collect the garbage and weigh them. It will be ground up in the factory.
How much money can you make in a day recycling?
200.
200 pesos. That's $4 American.
We work from morning to late in the afternoon.
So from morning to late afternoon, so you're putting in probably 10 or 12 hours, and you're making $4 a day. Wow.
Sometimes my other siblings will have fever. They will be wounded from working at the dump site. Sometimes they will swell, but eventually they will heal. I would like to be a government employee and police.
Police.
Will you have to go to college for that? Do you believe you'll be able to be a police officer someday?
Yes.
Good.
Yes, if my mother can support me.
Do you have enough money to go to college?
No, because our only job is to collect garbage. I am sad.
Bucky, why are you sad?
I'm sad because my mother has that kind of job.
What are some good memories you have of being with us?
When we work together to teach Bible lessons to kids. I am happy. I'm happy to be hearing His words. I am learning to be His follower, to become good and to obey my parents.
What does it mean to you to be a ministry helper?
It is about serving God, learning about the Word, and sharing it to other children who do not know about the Word. I like it when the children are sitting together and we are teaching them the stories of Jesus. I am happy to know that Jesus loves me. Thank you for helping our community. I am happy that through you, the other children will have the chance to study because their mothers are not able to send them to school. Just like us, because we are many in the family.
You've been helping me in your village for a long time. We are very thankful for that. What's your favorite part of being a ministry helper?
I like helping the children.
Do you have any health problems in your family?
Yes, someone has asthma.
Do you think living in this environment is hurting his asthma?
Yes. I want everyone to have a better life and everyone will have a better job. I am happy because somehow I am able to help my family. I help my mother in collecting garbage.
You're a ministry helper and we have Vacation Bible School 2 times a month, but we also have Bible studies every single Saturday or Sunday. Sometimes you can't come to those studies. Why?
Sometimes I cannot go because I need to help my mother to collect garbage.
So you're missing out on Bible studies because you have to work in the garbage dump. Tell us what you've learned about God spending time with us.
I am happy and I am learning to pray.
How do you feel about knowing Jesus loves you so much?
I am very happy because I am starting to learn how to hear His voice and read the Bible.
When we found out how much the children were making in the garbage dump every day, 200 pesos a day, we thought it'd be a great idea to show you back home what that can purchase. So we're going to look at the rice. The cheapest rice we can get right here is 38 pesos per kilogram. All right. So for 38 pesos, you can get a kilo of rice, which is about this much. All right. We're going to move on and see what else we can purchase. So we're up to 38 pesos out of 200.
How much for one bag tomato?
10 pesos. So for 10 pesos, we're up to 48 pesos. You can get one bag of tomatoes and a small bit of rice. Perhaps you need some eggs. Hi, ¿cómo está? How much are the eggs? 24. So we're at 62. 62 pesos. Bananas are about 40 to 50 pesos for a small bunch. Okay. So we're at 112 pesos already for one meal to feed 3 people. Okay, so if you got these peanuts, the cheapest ones you can get would be 50 pesos. All right, so now we're up to almost 200 now. Okay, so you see how one meal with just peanuts, some tomatoes, some rice, and some bananas is going to be one day's work for one meal for 3 people? This is the problem.
All right. So we were just at the market and there was a man trying to sell me some produce. And he asked me, would you like peanuts? Would you like bananas? Would you like this or that?
What do you like, sir?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Voila.
Ladies.
No.
Money.
Jesus. And then he said, girls? You want girls? We're at a market. And this man's trying to sell me women. Girls. What have we come to where women are now for sale at the market?
The first time I was exposed to Fields Avenue, the brothel strip in the Philippines, I didn't really know much about it. Now I know that there are many, many cities in the Philippines where prostitution is encouraged and advertised. Foreigners from around the world travel there, to solicit pleasure from young ladies, and sometimes young men, and oftentimes children. It's a hard thing to discuss, but the reality is someone needs to talk about this. Someone needs to raise awareness. I went there. I've seen it. I've been into the brothels. I've seen with my own eyes in these bars the girls standing on stage, all in a row, bikinis, nothing else on. They have little numbers hanging off of them, and you can pick which number you want, and for a certain price you can own that individual for an evening or a week. And sometimes people actually buy children permanently. No, it's a heartbreaking thing to see. It's heartbreaking to feel the hopelessness of walking in those doors knowing that I'm not like these other men that have come from America and Germany and Australia. But they don't know that. They're looking at me and thinking I'm exactly like those other men. Now, I don't go in there and order beer and pretend to be one of them. I just went in to see for myself. And I've brought others with me so they could see. And the reaction's always the same. Shock, heartache, frustration. What do you do with a young woman who's so mentally broken that she can't break free from this? She's so physically constrained that she can't run away. You pray for them and you look for a way to help. And that's what Only Seven Ministries was born from. Knowing that once the girls go into the brothel, it's extremely hard to get them back out. And even when you do, you have to try to rehabilitate them. And a broken heart and mind is impossible to heal without Jesus. Therefore, Only Seven Ministries has dedicated itself. We are dedicated to preventing children from going into the brothel, for preventing grandmothers from selling their children for a new iPad. And yes, it's just that silly. Just for a new phone or a gadget, or for perhaps to pay for food for the next couple of months. They'll sell their own kids. Not every family is as loving as the one I stayed with my first time in the Philippines. Children are often a commodity to be used, sold, trafficked. That's what human trafficking is. Trafficking in people. Only Seven Ministries is seeking to prevent that. If we can provide the educational materials and support, the medical help that they need, the evangelism that they desperately need, and the clothing, well then the children won't be sold into slavery in brothels. As part of our outreach efforts to the girls that are already in the brothel strip, they can't be forgotten. We have to reach out to them. It's not enough to do prevention. We believe in also offering a chance for rehabilitation, to let these daughters of God know that they have absolute value. How much value do they have? Well, I always tell them they're worth the life of the Son of God. There couldn't be any more value than that. On one occasion, my wife and I, who is also our field manager, traveled to the brothel strip in Ankla City. There I met dozens of girls who were soliciting me for their services. Instead, what I did was ask them a few questions. After a few moments, we get to the heart of the matter, and I'm handing them a little nondescript card. It's got a few statements. If you're hurting, if you need help, if you have children, if you want to leave the brothel, please call this number. You know, we had a great success that evening. It may have seemed like many of the girls weren't that interested, but of course they can't appear to be. Their pimps are watching, and it's dangerous. The next day, I received a phone call. I was sitting in the coffee shop having a meeting with my wife, discussing our future plans for the ministry, when I received a phone call from one of the girls. She called and started to ask me questions about who we were and why we were interested in her and her children. Of course, she was skeptical, but she soon warmed up to the idea that there are people in the world who love her and don't want to use her, but only want to help.
Human trafficking is the exploitation of vulnerable people for the purpose of exploitation. They are treated like a nobody. Everyone will just be told what to do, how to impress the customers, but no one cares about how they feel. No one cares about their well-being. So they are just treated like objects. They will be treated as products that needs to be sold. They cannot leave the brothel. That's not even an option. Everyone's watching them. They cannot even talk to girls. Like when we visit the clubs, they are very afraid
to talk to us. There are people, men watching them, and even though they wanted to engage to conversation, I can see from them that they are very hesitant, they are very cold because they know that someone there is watching them, and if ever they will just miss 1 minute not doing their job, I think there's consequences to that. This work is the last option for them. Sometimes they are rescued, but they don't want to be rescued. Why? Because this is their source of income. This is the way they know how to live. This is normal for them. So when you rescue them, they would feel that you are taking something good from them. And for them, living a life outside this normal living that they have is a big challenge. Everything is changed. They don't know how to live. They don't know how to start over. So it's a really long process of healing. There's no one step to help them. It's really a big and long process. They hate God because they think, God, why did you allow us to be in this situation? Physically, they have many diseases from urinary tract infection and other STDs, and they have very poor hygiene. Socially, they like the attention of the opposite sex, and they really long for a partner. So they are alcoholic, they want to use drugs, and they really long for sexual partner, like whoever it is. So from one partner to another, they are prone to changing partners all the time. And parenting, because they lack the parenting from their parents themselves, they don't know how to take care of their babies also. The young children, they're exposed to their mother's choices. For example, they can witness their mothers having different partners all the time, smoking, drinking, and very materialistic. So for them, the best way to give love to their children is to provide for all of their needs in whatever cost it will take.
Human trafficking is just one of the many issues we are facing in the Philippines. Among those issues would be comforting the people when they lose a child. The infant mortality rate in this country is astoundingly high. For those of us living back here in the States, we have the finest medical care in the world, although we take it for granted. These children, if they can't afford the doctor, when tragedy strikes, the hospitals aren't concerned with the patient as much as they are with the payment. Unfortunately, sometimes our only option is to comfort a mother who's already lost one of her children.
I have 2 children. 4 people are living in this house. I should have had 3 children, but the youngest one died. I just fed my son, then left him quickly so I can prepare the water to bathe him, without expecting that he will be hit by a truck. The time I saw my son laying on the ground and the driver got off the truck, the people started to attack him. I prayed, Lord, help me and teach me what to do. At that time, when I saw the people hurting the driver, I defended him and hugged him. I brought him here in our house. Now, every time I will make a decision, I always pray first. I evaluate if this is the right decision that I should make and will it have a good or bad outcome. When I lost my son, I learned to pray first before I make any decisions. I am thankful because we can survive every day. If I made anything wrong, I ask for God's forgiveness. I thank God and ask for His protection for my husband. He is always away from us. I also pray for the protection of my children when they are at school. I pray every day. I tell God that I know that He will not take him away from us without any reason. Everything happens for a reason. When my son was still here, I neglected my other 2 children. I only gave my focus to him because he was still so little. I gave him everything that he likes, but I controlled what I gave to my other children. Sometimes I will remind them to not feel jealous because I also did the same thing when they were little. I feel like I neglected my responsibilities to my other 2 children. Because he was still small, I needed to follow him wherever he is going. I bought whatever he likes at the store, but I do not do that to my other children. I always buy things for him first, then to my other children. It was hard, but I need to be strong because I still have 2 other children to support. They still need me. I know that my youngest son is okay now, so I will focus my attention to my 2 remaining children, though sometimes I still remember and miss him.
Some of the unique challenges we're facing in Only Seven Ministries in the mission field are quite strange. For example, the women have a misconception that if they bathe at night, they'll get sick. Can you imagine working in a garbage dump every single day, being covered in the filth and the biohazards, the contaminants, the infections, the bacteria, all that stuff, and then they don't bathe at night? Now, we've had to explain that isn't correct. Imagine your daughter, when she's old enough to experience womanhood, stops going to school because she has no way to take care of her personal hygiene. That's a real problem, especially when your mothers are telling you that if you bathe during that time, that you'll get uterine cancer or tumors. These are some of the superstitions and the old wives' tales we've had to dispel over time. You might ask yourself, why doesn't the government do something? Well, simply put, it's easier to govern people when they're ignorant. And I don't mean that everyone in the Philippines is ignorant. No, just many of the poor individuals who don't know their own condition. Ignorance comes in many ways, shapes, and forms. But one thing that we can't tolerate is spiritual ignorance, which is another huge problem we face in the Philippines. There's all kinds of ideas of witchcraft and superstitions. One example would be a time that I came to reach out to a young mother who had children. Her oldest son has resistant tuberculosis. I was checking in on him to see if his treatments we had found at the doctor to be helpful. And she asked me after my visit if I would spit in my hand and rub her baby's foot. Perplexed, I asked my translator what this was all about, and she explained that it's a blessing. It will ward off evil spirits. I looked at this woman, and I said, I appreciate your concern for your child, but let me tell you, doing things like this will most likely attract spirits, then repel them. I can offer you something far more powerful. I can pray for your child. I laid my hands on that newborn baby, and I prayed. And I know that there's nothing special about me, but I know there's something very special about our Savior, Jesus Christ. He connects us to our Father in heaven. And in the name of Christ, I prayed that God would bless that child and protect that child. And that baby's still alive today. And we thank God for the opportunity to dispel rumors, to dispel superstitions. Another example of hard-headedness would be the time my wife and I took a young child that was 2 years old. She had a severe infection in her neck, right below her jaw, because her parents decided she needed an earring. They had pierced her ear in the garbage dump, and you can imagine the bacteria that got inside. She had a high fever, was lethargic, she was pale, sunken eyes, and she was in pain. Now, I'm not much of a doctor, but I can see when there's a bulging red, fluid-filled pocket on a child's face that there's a real problem here. Now, we knew that infection could travel to the heart or to the brain very rapidly. So we told the parents we should really take her into the hospital. We went to the hospital, and we left to go get some supplies to bring them back to the father who was there. And when we got back, they were gone. We traveled all the way back to the garbage dump, and we found the father with the child sleeping in the house and dad's outside in the hammock. And we asked, "Why did you leave?" He responded, "I didn't think it was that bad." I thought and prayed for a moment. I had to be wise here. In one way, you don't want to take away a parent's right to choose for their child, but in another way, you've got a helpless little 2-year-old that needs someone of intelligence here to make a good decision. So I said to the mother and father, "I would like you to go into that hut and give your daughter a big hug, tell her you love her, and say goodbye, because you'll likely never see her after this week. I believe she's not going to make it." That hit the parents hard, and the mother said, "I'll go." We ended up taking Mom and the little 2-year-old to the hospital. After a week's treatment and her mom and dad rotating duties, she's completely well, has no more infection, and has just a slight scar where she was once injured. It's things like this that we need to combat. It's not enough just to give people medicine and teach them how to use it. We have to teach them hygiene. We have to teach them basic anatomy. We have to teach them the basics that many Americans take for granted, like the fact that washing your hands can repel disease. Well, they don't know that. People will butcher a pig right in the middle of the garbage dump. Flies are laying eggs all over this meat. It's in the sweltering heat, and there's mosquitoes everywhere, and there's cockroaches and rats and mangy dogs and rabies-filled cats running around. Friends, this is an environment that's absolutely deadly. And this is why there's not a high population of elderly folks in the Philippines. If we can teach them how to be healthy while we're teaching them about Jesus, that is a win-win for us.
You know, I take for granted going to Hy-Vee right around the corner to go get food and have money to go and do that. I heard from Eric Drury. He gave a presentation at our church in Dodge Center and really showed me how others are living and impressed upon my heart that I need to do something, and how can I give?
Well, and what I saw was the focus on the young people. I think that's such a big deal, and I think that's something that's very overlooked, not just in that country, but all over the world. I think we need to get involved a lot more with our young people. So, I personally was impressed. His compassion, his kindness towards other people, that struck a chord with me.
The way that children were living really just, it made me really sad. If I could bring them here, I would. I can't. I hope to go over there and help.
Well, I think for me it was just Eric's approach, his realistic approach to the whole thing, saying, you know what, adults are just a little harder to reach. I'm gonna focus on young people. I'm gonna focus on these children. I'd say if you can donate, good, but if you can volunteer, that's great. If you can do anything, because I mean, a lot of folks, and especially in this country, they're blessed with monetary gain. Even us.
A little goes a long way.
Yeah. But I think it says more about you as a person if you get out and you do it in some way. You don't have to do everything that Eric does. You don't have to do everything that Jesus did. But I feel that if we're called by the Lord, we need to go out and do something. And I think it really will make you appreciate what you have more if you get out and are active, proactive, and you do it. This now doesn't have to be your forever. I would say that I love you. More importantly, the Lord loves you. And this isn't it. This what you're going through, the way you're living, it's not it.
I love you. Like Dan says, it's not your forever. And if I could take each and every one of you home with me, I would. But if I can help you in any way, I will. I will find a way to help you. I'm just over here in America, not able to get over there myself, and if I can save up my coffee money or anything that I can give or do, I will. It's important to me. And it's important to those kids to know that there are other people that want to help, not really knowing how to help. Find a way to help, because you can.
We've discussed some of the challenges in the Philippines, but the victories are far more impressive. There was one point where we really desperately needed a car. I mean, how are you going to transport children to the hospital, riding on a tricycle, in the rain, and then a jeepney, and then a bus, and so on and so on? Not only is it cost prohibitive, but it's time prohibitive, and it's not healthy. especially when you've got a child with TB riding on a crowded jeepney. We don't want to spread this. So we prayed. And one day, as I was in prayer, I received a voicemail, which I ignored because, as everyone knows, you don't interrupt prayer to find out who called you. So I continued to pray, Lord, please help us to get a vehicle. We don't have the money for it, but we desperately need one. We want to use it for your glory. We want to take great care of it, Lord. If it's your will, please help us to have that vehicle. And I prayed in the name of Christ. And I opened my phone, and I saw that someone from a church in Colorado had called. So, puzzled, I called them back, and they explained that their church had prayed and decided that they wanted to sponsor our car. They wanted to deliver the money to us to buy a vehicle. Now, isn't that amazing that while I was asking for a car, God provided one? And now, thank God, we have a beautiful vehicle. It's somewhat of a mini SUV. We can carry about 12 kids in the back of this vehicle, and we use it every single day to transport not only ourselves to and from the ministry field, but also the children back and forth to the hospital. This vehicle has been an amazing answer to prayer, and we use it and thank God every day. One of the difficulties we faced is not having a shelter. When you're standing in the middle of a garbage dump, and you've got all kinds of sun and heat and sweat and humidity, and then the rainy season lasts 3 or 4 months, you really need to have a shelter, somewhere to be out of the sun and out of the rain. So we prayed for that, and again God came through and answered our prayers. Speaking with one of the elders there, I expressed my desire to rent some kind of building somewhere nearby so we could have our vacation Bible schools and our Bible studies and our church services and our health and healing seminars and our clothing distributions. And this elder considered, and he came back to me a day later, and he said, I have a home that I don't use. It's not much, but you are free to use it anytime you choose. So now we have a building that's up on stilts with a concrete floor underneath, and we use it every time we have a vacation Bible school. It protects our little kids from the sun, it protects them from the rain, and it gives them a sense of purpose. They can come to the building, the shelter. They all come there knowing that they're going to decorate for vacation Bible school, and they get excited. All the children participate. They're hanging streamers, and the ministry girls are there, and it's just a wonderful example of how God can give you victories and supply your needs in the mission field. We've had many other answers to prayer, some of them being just having donors approach us and offer us funds to work in the Philippines. I can't tell you what a blessing this is to us. And of course, we love to receive children's clothing, used or new, from donors just like you. But the thing is, it's a lot more cost effective for us to buy the clothing there at a fraction of the price than it is to carry luggage over there and pay for it. So we're very thankful for the victory of having people approach us to support us financially, support us in prayer, and support us by spreading awareness. Another great victory that we had was praying that God would help me to spread awareness about the problems we're facing in the mission field. And one day a young man approached me in church. I gave a presentation, discussed the problems, and this kid came up and he said, I want to take pictures for you. I'm a photographer, I'm a videographer, and I want to help you make a documentary. And I said, let's do this. We prayed on it, and God helped that young man raise the funds he needed from having nothing in his bank account to all of a sudden he had $3,000 within a month and a half. You see, God supplied our need again. He came over to the Philippines with a bunch of brand new gear, high-tech equipment, and a passion to share this story. What he did there was make our first film of Such is the Kingdom. Now, it is not perfect, but it's absolutely beautiful. And you know, friends, I wouldn't want it to be perfect. I wouldn't want it to be any different than it is. It's just right. God answered our prayers, and through that film, we've shown it to thousands of people. And donations have come in to support our medical mission work, our education, our clothing, and our evangelism efforts.
All of our efforts would be in vain if it were not for a deep desire to share the gospel of Christ through meeting the needs of the people. Everything that we do is designed to touch the hearts and minds of the families that we're working with. People don't care what you know until they know that you care. The next person you will see as a young mother of 3, fighting for the life of her child, little Lacey, an 8-year-old with congenital heart disease, when she came to us begging us to help her. Of course, we accepted the call, and we immediately began to raise funds for her surgery.
I asked God for a miracle, for someone to come and help us. Then God gave you to us. You came here. God is really good because He is looking after us. I am happy that someone is helping me. I really felt how good God is because someone offered to help me. Someone from here told me that there were people who were sharing about God, and they told me to approach them because they might be able to help my daughter. My friends know how hard my daughter's situation is. I told my friends that it might be embarrassing, but if there will be anyone who will be able to help my daughter, I hope they will have mercy because she needs an operation. The most difficult challenge here is to keep our family from getting sick. It does not matter if we do not have money, as long as no one will get sick. Everyday living is a challenge. We do not have food. If we will not work here at the garbage dump, we will have nothing. We got nervous. Oh my God, I said. What should I do with my daughter? She is sick. It is better if no one in our family is sick. I pray to God to remove my child's sickness so we do not have to worry about her. I was nervous. I thought, how can we go to the hospital if we don't have money? Who will help us? I will thank God for whoever will send to help us. I hope she will be given proper medication. She needs an operation for her heart. Because we do not have any money. We do not have enough budget. Even if we work hard at the garbage dump, it will just be enough for our food. They say that it is half. I don't know. They just said it's half. We just earn 70 pesos in a day. We use that money to buy 1 kilo of rice, canned sardines, dried fish, egg. We use water from the water pump. We do not have electricity. We just use lamp. I am happy. I am happy that God sent someone to help her. God gave Brother Eric the power to help us. I am thankful to God for giving this kind of help to us. I would like for our family to have a changed life, that we will return to God. I want our family to change. I will ask God to help me and all of us to change. I remember that when I heard Brother Eric sing, it made me remember the Seventh-day Adventist Church. I wonder why he made us sing that song. I have been wondering about that. That is why I asked you. I wonder why he knew that song. I am happy because I grew up as an Adventist. I just stopped when I started to have children. I stopped going to church because there is no church here. It affects them because my mind is always focused on her, on how I can find solution to this problem. I can't focus on my job because I am always worried that she will have a heart attack. That is my fear. I am happy because they are also experiencing what I experienced before when I was taught how to study the Bible. The Adventists in our province before have different groups for adults and children, and that is how we learn to sing. That is why I told them to always attend whenever Ate Von gives lesson so they will learn how good Jesus is to them. I want to ask them to help my daughter. I hope someone will have mercy on us. I really feel bad for my daughter. Even if it is embarrassing to ask for help, I will really be thankful to whoever will help her. I hope your hearts will be touched and that you will have mercy to my daughter and you will be able to help her. This is our situation. We are just living in a nipa hut. We are just garbage collectors. We do not have money to help our daughter. I pray that God will bless those who will help us.
At Only Seven Ministries, we understand one key principle. You can't give what you don't have. Every day, each of our staff and volunteers recommit themselves to Jesus Christ. It is only by this deep personal love relationship with Jesus that we can share that love with others. At Only Seven Ministries, our motto is sharing the gospel of Christ through meeting their needs. We don't believe in preparing sinners to have a great life here on this earth. Friends, it's so much more than that. Of course, we want them to succeed now and for their immediate future, but we want to prepare them for the kingdom of heaven. We want them to connect with the one and only person in the universe who can bring them into God's love. We want them to know Jesus Christ.
You know, I've done a lot of amazing things in my life. I've jumped off of waterfalls. I've swam in the middle of the Pacific with turtles. I've climbed the tallest mountain in Colorado. And I've met some amazing people. I've met millionaires, and I've met people laying in the street. I've had money, and I've spent it. And I'll tell you, friends, there's nothing that compares to sharing the love of Jesus Christ with other people. That is the heart of what Only Seven Ministries does. We share the love of Jesus Christ with people through meeting their needs. Please pray for our success as we face new challenges every day in the mission field. There's always another sick child. There's always another distraught father who lost his job. There's always someone else that needs help. I've had to walk away from a child who was pulling on my hand, begging me to help them, knowing that I just didn't have any more to give. You can bridge the gap between where you are and these children there. You might be asking yourself, what can I do here, thousands of miles from the mission field? How could I possibly help? You know, friends, it doesn't matter to those children that you're far away. What matters is that you care. And any way you can support them, financially, through prayer, or sending a note along with me as I go to the children and explain to them that people back home care for them enough to send them a letter. Anything that you can do, whatever God impresses you to do, turns out to be a great blessing to those children. The distance doesn't matter to them. It isn't real, but only in our minds. Let's do what Jesus would do. Let's share the gospel. Let's share it with love.